Colts at Bengals. Huge move, as you guys know. This broke while we were watching the Hurricanes-Gators game, and it was like we thought. Donnie will say it best. I'll let Donnie tell what he thought was going on when we first saw it come across the screen in red. I'll let Donnie talk about that. The season win total went from 9.5 to 6.5. It's at 6.5, and it's still juiced to the over. Over is a minus 130. The division from 120 to 500. Conference 8 to plus 2,200. Super Bowl from 1,600 to plus 5,000. For the Bengals, there's been a 15-cent move towards the under 6.5 win total. It was at minus 160. Now, if you want it, it's at minus 175. No moves on their division, conference, or Super Bowl looks. Indianapolis, Cincinnati opened up minus 4. It is now at minus 3. And this total at half the books has dropped a half point to 33.5 from the 34 opening. Donnie Rightside, take us to the announcement and tell us what you think about how this will reflect in the Colts play this Thursday.
Yeah, sitting at Frankie's bar, we're relaxing, having some pitchers of beer, some wings, some, chips, and watching the Miami game. And all of a sudden across the screen, we had a nice, big, nice view. It comes up in red at the bottom of the screen out of nowhere. Andrew Luck announces his retirement from the NFL and disappears in red. So Bobano's sitting right next to me, Ian Cameron, and I'm saying to Ian, did you see that? He goes, yeah, I absolutely saw that. What's going on right there? What was that about? I said, I think ESPN was just hacked. Every time a new news breaks, it comes up in yellow. This came in red. And sure enough, everybody goes to check the Twitter. Adam Schefter has it on there. And it was devastation across the board. Couldn't even believe what was going on. But fast forwarding, just from a football perspective, from a fan perspective, from a gambling perspective, this team was so interesting coming into the season with the possibilities. They had every single thing we liked. A revamped offensive line that was sensational last year. An MVP caliber quarterback. A team with a ton of cap space. And an engineer as a head coach that's built from the Philadelphia Eagles mold, winning a Super Bowl, coming over and bringing that aggressive mentality. And poof, it goes up right in flames. You're talking about like a 9.5, dropping to a 6.5 in the team total. The air completely out of the building on this football team. Now it's almost like we have to rebuild and try to get in as gamblers and cappers to say, what are we really getting out of this team? Is the value left in Indianapolis? A lot of air, as I said, went out of that balloon. I really don't know what the response is going to be in week 4 because you're not putting, obviously, Jacoby Brissett out there because he's your starter. And now you're looking for that backup help. How much is he going to play? It's a really interesting conundrum. But just as a football fan of watching, I really was looking forward, Jimmy, to just watching the Colts this year.
Yes, we were very high on the Colts. I was very excited to make Colts bets. I remember in week 1 of our show, Whale Capper talked about liking a Chargers-Colts conference final. Now he moved. It was just an early look that we sort of were moving away from, especially when we heard that the Chiefs were going to not be missing a certain superstar for a few weeks to start the season. But wow, Whale Capper, wow, 9.5 down to 6.5. Touch on that. What do you think on the season win total? And then how do you think the Colts will handle this week 4 preseason game against the Bengals as 3-point dogs?
So this is an easy stay away from the game for me because I have no idea what to expect. And it is funny how you had Donnie set up that story because that's kind of common. Like people are treating this like, well, where were you when you found out the shocking news that Andrew Luck was retiring from the NFL? It's like our generation's, where were you when Kennedy was shot? And, speaking of shot, Jimmy, you avoided the bullets of Colts futures, way before the preseason. I did not. I took one, center body mass here. I had a huge position on Colts to win the AFC South at a plus number that I was very content and so satisfied with how much value I had captured on that, getting out ahead of the market on that one because it was around, minus 135-ish or so before the Andrew Luck retirement. And this is now, as far as I can tell you, this is a loss because I do not think the Colts are viable in the AFC South with Jacoby Brissett as the quarterback for the duration of this season. And I think that the fact that your fearless leader walks out leaves you at the altar, this has the potential to have some mental ramifications in terms of motivation of the team. I mean, guys got to be looking around at each other, in the locker room now, like, oh man, Andrew Luck, he's walking away because, it was too much to risk the injury of, potentially, the head shots, the shoulder shots, the leg shots. Like, like this guy's the smartest guy in the room and he's walking away from the sport. Like, how are we supposed to go out there and run out there and put our bodies on the line? So there's some potential for a little bit of a hangover across the team, across motivations. And when you look at their schedule, it does not give them a soft landing for Brissett. He is going to be thrown right into the fire. And if we get to week 6 when their bye rolls around and they're 1-4, 0-5 potentially, I think there's going to be some serious discussions in the at the head of the organization. What do we do at this point? We try out some of the other potential quarterbacks. Do we let Jacoby Brissett ride this out? Are we positioning ourselves for a draft choice because we're sure as hell aren't going to win the AFC South? So there's a lot of red flags here that, to me, if there's any look on the win total, it's to the under. This opens up opportunities, obviously, for the other 3 teams in the AFC South, but they all have fatal flaws. So, somebody's going to roll the dice and hit a winner here. But I'm not sure exactly who it is. And I'm just kind of staying away from this whole division at this point and taking my loss on the Colts South future.
Tough spot. Whale Capper, the free play on the total now, over -130, under a +100, 6.5, under 6.5 +100. Would you jump on that?
Yeah, I mean, if it's a free play, I'm taking the under in a heartbeat because, like I said, that the likelihood that you're not going to get top level play out of the guys around you because you went from, in a heartbeat, we can win the Super Bowl this year. We can go to the Super Bowl this year. We are talented enough. We have a top 5 quarterback in the league, and now on its head, you've snapped, and now you're a bottom 5 quarterback in the league. You're 9.5 to 6.5 says it all. That's a playoff team to an also ran, and that type of that type of impact on your mental capacity for how you're putting yourself on the line week in, week out as a player in this league, on the offensive line, on the defensive line, receivers, D-backs, like all of these guys I think are going to be a step slow. There's going to be a little bit of kind of the impact of this is going to be a shadow over their play this season, and I think the Colts are in for a long year.
Donnie, are you surprised at the 1 point market move towards the Indianapolis Colts? 1.5 at 5 dimes. Does that surprise you?
In the game itself?
Yeah.
Or what
in the game?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't surprise me. I just think there may be just looking at some added benefit. Just to get back to Whale Capper's point on this one, taking a center mass hit. And I shout out all the people who on social media, those Colts fans, they're such idiots for booing. Let me tell you a little bit of story about the Philadelphia Eagles. If this was the same thing in week 3 preseason, we're loaded for bear and ready to make a Super Bowl run. And Carson Wentz says, you know what? Just mentally checked out, hurt my back, hurt my knee. As he walks off on the field, if you remember in college football where they carry like the goalpost out of the stadium in some of these schools after a big win, well, the fans probably would have carried the stadium with Carson Wentz in it and threw it into the Delaware River. So I don't have any, problems ripping into my own fan base for that. But we would be the same way as Colts fan. This team was ready to make a run, and Whale Capper said it best: center mass bullseye hit to that fan base.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of different ways to break down the decision. And, when Mike Miner was whining about being on the trade block, how he likes his family to be in Texas, I shat all over him. I beat him up. But this isn't a situation where I would do that. It is, there's a difference in the danger. And, from an NHL perspective, I was a really big Rick Rippon fan. He killed himself. I was a big Wade Belak fan. He killed himself. These head injuries affect these guys enormously. I can't speak for what he is going through, but I'm not going to take any shots on the desire to live a long, healthy life, if that is part of the equation.